Hi, this is Attorney Mike Gravel coming to you from Chicago, as usual. And today we're going to do another one on David Rodriguez, a little something we're going to call David Rodriguez number 2. I just got into this whole situation by accident, but it's a lot of fun. Let's do it.
Freedom is everything, my friends. I'm going to tell you why I got arrested, what happened in the court, and what happened in my 14 days being tortured.
All right, here we go. Straight from the source.
And having my rights violated, and what's next. And I want to say thank you to all my family, my friends who supported me. Unbelievable amount of support out there for freedom, and I'm grateful. And so this is why I'm going to proceed. And
hey, everyone's in favor of freedom. Freedom's good, but it comes at a cost, and then there comes a point where you're infringing other people's freedom, and so it has its limits as well.
And explain what happened, so you know what's going on, and what they did to me is just a matter of time till they do to other people, right? And
they've been doing it to other people since the beginning of time. It's called prosecuting people who break the law.
Because we're in a race between freedom consciousness and obedience consciousness.
Oh boy, we've got the Celestine prophecy here.
Or slave consciousness. It's freedom or slavery, my friends. That's where everything is going. It's about freedom or slavery and who owns your body. And I'm so honored that you guys appreciate what I've been doing for the last year, last few years. And my car got towed multiple times over the past year for my right to travel activism, because I found out that I'm not a commercial driver.
All right, so he's setting up the argument that he's being targeted for his activism. His activism is to break the law. You're going to be prosecuted for breaking the law eventually. Sometimes you'll get away with it. Somebody won't notice or won't care. But if you do it repeatedly and in people's faces, yes, you will get a citation and you will get prosecuted.
And I don't have a motor vehicle as defined in their own codes. So I've been exercising my freedoms, and just in the last year, they start to really crack down. And there's more histories, but I want to share what happened on June 30th, because this is where it all began.
This is actually interesting. I like to hear it from his perspective.
And that's when I was kidnapped by Santa Cruz.
Thankfully, he didn't decide to be a drama queen about this.
County sheriff deputies. They're in the courtroom unexpectedly. So I went into court.
When you go into court, there's almost always a sheriff's deputy, namely a bailiff. But certainly, in addition to that, witnesses or people related to the case or cases that are being called.
To do a trial readiness conference, because I have some vehicle code violations and misdemeanors according to their own rules and laws. So, okay, let's go to trial. I want to go and examine these facts, examine the definitions, examine what is really going on when you guys are the sworn public officials to protect my rights.
Yeah, you can examine the videos that you put out on YouTube that show you violating the law clearly.
So I was in the court, and Judge Nancy de la Pena said, okay, well, here's the charges, and then she deferred to the assistant district attorney, Brian Pearson, and all of a sudden they said, oh yeah, there's new charges. Yeah,
this just shows exactly how little they know, and that's fine. He's not claiming to be an attorney, at least. Maybe I'm messed up from the last few where these guys thought they were attorneys, but he characterizes her deferring. No, there are new charges based upon the activity and the evidence that they've collected, and those charges would be brought by the prosecutor. She's not deferring. The judge does not charge you with things. The prosecutor charges you with things. So this is just following the normal procedure. And again, he reads it as a conspiracy.
And they said, oh yeah, this got served on you. I said, I haven't seen any paperwork. And so she sent some runner to go get the paperwork.
That's plausible. They might have filed new information or charges. and tried to serve him, and he wasn't served. So, okay, well, here we are in court. Let's read them to you in open court. That's all the service you're going to need, and hand them to you. You should have them, and that's fine. But it's it's not like we're not going to trial on it today, but you should know about the charges against you.
New complaints, and the new complaints came, and during that time, it's just kind of dead silence in the courtroom, and we're waiting and waiting, and I'm saying, how do you guys morally justify what you're doing? I've harmed nobody. I've threatened nobody.
How do you morally justify what you're doing? You're breaking the law knowingly and for no good cause, really. But I mean, I actually don't really mean that. I'm just putting it back to point out the silliness of it. They're doing their jobs. You're doing what you want to do, and the consequences are flowing. That is what's going on here. It's not a matter of moral justification. You don't. That's not how it works. You don't get to be the moral arbiter over the judge. I know you want that in the worst way, but that's not how it's set up.
Yet you guys are all making money in here, and I'm not. So please.
Maybe you should get a job.
Can anybody justify the violence you're using against a peaceful man? I'm the one being
I can. You're resisting arrest, and that's the only alternative they have available to them.
Forced to be here. I'm here under threat of my life.
Right.
I'm afraid to be in this courtroom. And
maybe you should stop breaking the law.
They didn't reply. And then even before that, I could say I handed them my fee schedule with invoices to the assistant district attorney, deputy city attorney, and the judge. And that is for forcing me to be here. There's a fee involved because I value my time.
Again, how do you morally justify that? First, you waste the public employee's time and effort prosecuting you for things that you know are clear violations of the law. And then you have the gall to bill people for it. Now, of course, it'll never get paid, and it's silly, and everyone will laugh at you for it. And, that's all good fun. But really, think about this.
My life is just time, just like your life. So here's the value, and here's what I put on it. So I got my fee schedule notarized, and I hand-delivered it to him with invoices totaling over $200,000 a piece for various violations. And that was even before we got into these new charges that they're going to bring up. So the runner comes in, gives me some paperwork, and then the assistant district attorney says, so we're going to charge Mr. Rodriguez with felony vandalism and felony forgery of DMV documents. And, of course, anytime you hear felony, now you're like, what is this? How did this get so serious? Well, about 3 weeks earlier, they had towed my car, and
I'm glad you picked up on the fact that things are getting serious with the felony charges. There are new charges, and you're going to have to answer those. I don't know the merits of any of these things. I've seen the videos, and I saw violations of law. It didn't look like a felony to me, but that's a small sliver of the facts available to them. So I can imagine that felony charges could possibly be appropriate, but I suggest you get yourself an attorney because things are getting serious to answer these things.
It's on video what they did. They came up and said, we're towing your car. They just put the tow truck there. And I said, where is the warrant? Where's the authority that you guys have? And on video, one of the sergeants from Santa Cruz Police Department said, we don't need a warrant. I said, okay. I said, you're violating your Fourth Amendment to seize or search persons or property. This is you swore an oath. And he said, I'm going to violate your Fourth Amendment. I'm going to violate your friend's Fourth Amendment over there. By that point, I was actually on the back of the tow truck because I'm a peaceful guy. I'm not going to use violence against these people. It's not going to solve the problem, and it's going to be more trouble.
I will give him credit here. I'm having my fun with this. He does tend to not be violent, and 2 points for that. But just because you're not physically assaulting people does not mean that you then have carte blanche to break all other laws. This seems to be a subset mainstay, and it's annoying. You know, I get it. You don't seem to be a threat to physical harm for people. That's good, but it's not enough. There are rules beyond just that.
That happened, and then I'm trying to reason with these cops, you know, and say, how do you morally justify what you're doing here, guys? I have no conscience.
That's not reasoning. That's an emotional outpouring. That's not what we're talking about here. You're in violation of the law, and they're trying to stop it. That's it.
Truck with you. I've harmed nobody, and you're stealing my property. One of the cops went on the truck after me to grab me, and so I kind of moved to the front of the truck, and carefully on the cab, kind of just escaped from, you know, being kidnapped there. Is what it felt to me. And then I put my foot right there on the edge.
I hate to tell you, brother, your feelings don't matter. You put out a video of this. We saw it all. You're giving a description of it. I get it, although you're slanting it with characterizations, and that's fine. You're doing it. You're trying to tell the story in your own life, but we've seen a video of it. I saw what it was. They arrested you with the least amount of force they could, given your actions.
That's where the felony vandalism came from. And the funny thing is that the next day, it's not even funny, dude. Nothing about this is funny, man. Let me clarify.
Oh, no. This is hilarious.
The interesting part of it. The next day I went to pick up my tow truck. I'll pick up the car from the tow truck company. And the guy, the owner said, "Oh, I'm going to sue you." I said, "Why?" He says, "Oh, you damaged my truck." I said, "Let me see." So we go out to his truck, and he's like, "It's right there." And I say, "Where?" And so I got video very close. There's like a little 1/4 inch, little small dent, right? And I saw that there, and I said, "Well, can we settle it?" He says, "Nope." And he uses his middle finger. He says, "I'm going to sue you." I said, "Okay." I said, yesterday I gave you a way out, man, because I gave the tow driver, I said, a verbal warning multiple times. I said it's a $15,000 fee to take my car without permission.
Oh, here's where the delusion just gets strong.
I do not consent. He says, "I don't need a way out. I'm the victim."
Yep.
I'm like, okay. So that's all on video, and we'll release some of these clips if you haven't seen them. And so that was the felony vandalism, okay? Incidental content. By the way, this is called Fruit of the Poison Tree. Whereas the only reason I was on his roof is because they were stealing my car.
Nope, that's not Fruit of the Poison Tree. Fruit of the Poison Tree is developing evidence where it starts from an illegal source, where you can show Fourth Amendment violation or something like that. Yeah, he can't. He's not describing it. I've seen the video. It's not there. You know, again, he doesn't. To his credit, at least, he does not claim to be an attorney, but he is trying to spout things he doesn't understand.
If these guys didn't take my car without authority or paperwork, contract, I wouldn't behave in a way that caused me to make a very small dent in the truck. So that was the first one. The second one was felony forgery of DMV documents, which this is my private plates on my car. Okay, and the private plates look nothing like a California plate. There was no registration tag on there. Okay.
This is interesting because that charge might be a reach. I don't know, and I'm not even asking the prosecutor because I don't have the facts. But they did charge him with that. Basically, what they're saying is you're trying to pass off something else as a plate. I don't know the exact elements of the offense, but probably placing something with the intent to deceive. And he's saying I couldn't, and that's probably right. And if he got an attorney, they could probably beat it. I don't know. I don't know because I don't know the specific facts. But these are all interesting conversations to have with an attorney who's defending you. Those are the charges. That's what you're facing now. And if you're going to go into court and tell them they don't have jurisdiction, you're going to be found guilty on all of this, not because they're shooting back, but because you're not defending yourself and you're not acting in a rational way. And you're not going to do anything to stop them. They're going to meet their burden of proof, and it's going to be over.
Immediately, those charges were placed on me, and the judge says, "So how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?" And I said, "Your Honor, how do you morally justify what you're doing here? You're threatening me. I haven't harmed anybody. I've threatened nobody."
Every time he goes back to his feelings, we're at an arraignment. You've been charged by a prosecutor with a crime. You can plead guilty or not guilty. That's what's before you.
So at that point, she says, I'm having doubts about your competency. I said, okay, that doesn't sound good. And then what they did
It's
is
not.
they suspended the criminal charges till I can get some competency tests. And then they appointed me a public defender.
Yes, this is the judge trying to help you because, again, there are a lot of charges here. Some of them you're clearly guilty of it, in my opinion, just looking at the video. But some of the other stuff is defensible, and this could make a big difference in the consequences to you. And you really need to stop with this nonsense. Get an attorney and start listening to them. And the judge doing this competency hearing, what you're about ready to go off the cliff. She's trying to help you. That's what's going on.
Immediately. So I went from presenting myself in court to now having someone else represent me, and
which is far superior.
And then they tried to remand me. The district attorney there say they want to make a motion to remand me, and then everybody left the court so I could talk to my public defender, and they're telling me here's what's going to happen. And he said, what do they want to do? He says, they want to take you into custody. I say, oh my gosh. Okay, so then they came back, and the public defender did his best to persuade the judge to not remand me. And the judge says no. And so there, with all my computers on the desk there in the courtroom, paperwork and everything, and it's all right, we're taking you into custody. And that was how they took me into custody right there. And I spent the next 14 days in a cell, some days never getting out of the cell.
That is interesting. I don't know what happened there. After you've been arraigned on these charges, you'd either set bond, but it sounds like they suspended the charges. I don't even know what they specifically mean. They took him into custody, and then they wanted to do a psych eval on him. And apparently this happened. And I don't even think he's lying here. He's just giving his version of it, and he doesn't understand what happened. But I don't know if they set bond and he couldn't make it, or if she can just order him into custody so that they have him for a psych eval. That's hard to see, but I don't have the court appearance, so I can't figure out what that is. If anybody knows what's going on, if I got a California criminal defense attorney or something, tell me in the comments below how you suspected that went down. It's a little strange that somebody would be held, even though they did do a felony charge of I don't know, some sort of malicious damage to property or something like that. I do find it strange that he was held over these sorts of charges awaiting trial, and unless they set a bond that he can't make. But that doesn't seem to be what happened. So I think the judge just ordered him into custody so that they could make sure he went to a psych eval. That is what I think it went on here.
It was torture, my friends, and very, very painful experience. And one of the lessons is that freedom is all there is, okay? It is everything. It is all of it. And you and I are in the middle of the Great Freedom Awakening, or accurately called the Great Self-Ownership Awakening. We're transcending the left-right paradigm and the control mechanisms that has controlled humanity for a long time. And the truth is that we're all equal.
Well, there you have it. I thought that was interesting. I first did a video on him jumping off the tow truck, and I didn't know who he was. Then I later did a video on a Zoom appearance, and midway through doing the video, I thought, oh, this guy is the guy who was jumping off the tow truck, but I couldn't put it together. Then I had a video sent to me, and that was the third one. That's the first time I knew his name, and that was sort of interesting. Well, now I'm kind of caught up in this saga, and it is actually kind of nice to see him describe it in his own words from his perspective, and of course he slants it to his own purpose, but that's okay. That's what people do. That doesn't bother me so much. He's frustrating because he's just so wrong about the contours of freedom and what you can and can't do. I get it. I'm into freedom. I think we've been giving up too much of our freedom in this society and been too compliant. So to some degree, I can agree with a sliver of his sentiment. However, he loses all credibility when he says, I don't have to have a driver's license to drive a car. Well, yes, you do. and it's annoying, or when he runs around and wastes everybody's time and damages the truck and jumps off and then cries and pulls his whole moral justification nonsense. But if you set that aside, other than that, he's kind of got a spiritual vibe, and he does seem like a non-violent guy. And aside from just sort of doing these things because he craves attention, he seems like a likable guy.